Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to go through the first 6 yoga poses in a sequence for anxiety in Mr. Iyengar's book, The Path to Holistic Health. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. Let's have 2 bricks and we'll come to stand up. You can leave 1 brick aside for now, but as you come to stand, hold your brick and set your feet hip-width apart. We're going to do Tadasana with the brick on the crown of the head. So when it comes to anxiety, it can be really helpful to redirect the mind. And we're going to bring the brick onto the crown so that we've got a point of focus. So ensure that you feel the brick is balanced, and then you let go of the brick and stretch the arms down. Reach down to the fingertips, and let's reaffirm the action in the legs and the lower abdomen. Press the thighs back, press the buttocks forward so that the tailbone can lengthen down, the lower spine can lengthen, but also so that we can bring some tone to the pelvic abdominal muscles and organs there. So we've got that lift, pubis to navel lifting, and then we want to lift up the sternum. So draw the upper breastbone up, but just watch that you're not flaring these lower front ribs. Contain the lower front ribs, broaden the lower back ribs, and press your shoulder tips back and down. So shoulder tips being the very top of the upper arm bone there, back and down. So you feel your shoulder blades engage on the back. So with all these instructions, the technique that we use in Iyengar yoga, it helps to redirect the mind. And that can be of great benefit if there's feelings of anxiety. Now we move to Urdhva Hastasana, the upward arm pose. Keeping the brick on the crown of the head, turn your palms out, inhale, stretch your arms up, all the way up so that the arms come to the brick. Perhaps you can touch the brick with your arms, and of course then you'll be stabilizing the brick, and lift the arms from the waist. See that there's the feeling of pressing down through the feet, digging the heels down, having a broad sense in the balls of the feet. Even lift the toes for a moment. Spread the toes apart so you feel that broadness. Go on pressing the thighs back. Heels dig down, tailbone descends, and lower back lengthens. Continue to draw the navel up, pubis to navel up, and then if possible, squeeze the brick between the arms and bring the brick forward and down, and then we can come out of the pose. We move on to Uttanasana, and we'll do a supported variation of Uttanasana. I know there are those who struggle to come down and rest the head on a brick or two, so I'll give a quick demonstration what to do if you do feel stiff in the hamstrings so that it can be a restful pose. As I said, if you struggle with flexibility in the hamstrings, perhaps it's difficult for you to flex here at the hips because of tightness there, or maybe it's tightness in the lower back. You can use a chair. Whether you use the top of the chair, bring your forearms onto the top of the chair, forward on your forearms so that you have a restful stance, or whether you can come down with your forearms onto the seat of the chair, or perhaps something intermediate. So maybe you've got either a bolster or a couple of bricks, so it's halfway between the height of the seat and the height of the top of the chair, and then you can rest and you can keep the spine straight if that's what you need to do for your lower back. But those of us who are supple enough to flex more deeply in the hips, we're going to use bricks underneath the crown of the head. So I'll move this chair out of the way. You can set your feet hip width, or you could go even wider to the width of the mat, particularly if you do feel some stiffness when you come into the pose. It can be helpful to have the feet a little bit wider. But let's set our bricks, and potentially you use 1 flat brick and 1 tall brick. And again, it can depend on how much flexibility you're managing as you come into the hip flexion. So we do want the crown of the head, not so much the hairline in the forehead, more the crown of the head. So if you've got the capacity, perhaps even that lower brick is moved out of the way and the crown can come onto the tall brick. So you navigate what you need to use prop-wise so that you can be in the pose. And we'll catch the ankles. So as we catch the ankles, as if you're drawing the skin up, the ankle skin up, then draw your shoulder blades up the back and feed the upper arm bone into the shoulder joint so that you're securing the shoulder blades onto the back body. Shoulder blades right up the back towards your hips, and we're maintaining the grip of the kneecaps. So as the kneecaps are gripped, quadriceps are firm, whether you've got your head on the bricks or you're using the chair. Notice then your exhalations. Can you allow the abdominal contents, the navel, to retreat back towards the back abdominal wall? So there's a quietening there. Slow your breath down. Continue to work with the grip of the kneecaps, the action of the quadriceps, strong flexion in the hips, and the quietening of the abdominal region. We'll stay just a few more breaths, ensuring the shoulder blades are not creeping down into your neck. Shoulder blades right up the back towards your hips. Now we're going to come out of the pose, but we're not going to come all the way out and up. So slowly lift the head up, come onto the fingertips, bend the knees, and we're going to turn around. We'll bring the bricks in front of us if we need them, but let's turn around and use the length of the mat rather than the width of the mat. So we come into Prasarita Padottanasana. Start on the fingertips and get the heels to the back edge of the mat. That way you'll know where you want to place the heels of the hands relative to the heels of the feet. Now again, we want to bring the head down, whether we're able to rest the head on the floor or whether we need to build up some height for the head to come onto. Try to get the top of the head, not so much the hairline. Grip the kneecaps, work the quadriceps. Take your hands back between the feet if you've got that capacity. Bend the elbows and bring your head down. And then if the head doesn't reach, to work out, do you need to put a brick there or do you need to take your legs a little wider so that the head can come into a restful position, quietening the brain. Then notice your shoulders. Are they dropping into the neck? Can you lift the shoulder tips, so top of the upper arm bone, lift up. Shoulder blades will right up the back as you do that. And once more, feed the upper arm bones into the shoulder joint. So you're not trying to pull the shoulders away from each other. The shoulder blades are not pulling away from each other. Draw them back and in to the spine, into the back. You go on lifting the sitting bones, working the front thigh muscles back into the thigh bone, gripping the inner thigh muscles up into the thigh bone. And see if you can spread your toes, particularly those little toes. Spread them out, broaden the feet, keep the arches of the feet active. Again, as you're observing your breath, notice on your exhalations, can the abdominal contents settle back? Can the navel settle back towards the back abdominal wall as you exhale? We stay for a few more breaths. Slow your breath down. Then as you're ready, raise the head up, walk your hands forward so you come onto the fingertips. And then you can bend the knees, press the hands into the floor, walk your feet in and come down onto your knees. And then you can raise the head up. We're going to stay low because we're transitioning now to downward facing dog pose. So if you need to have a rest, sitting in Vajrasana, thunderbolt pose, rest the arms, rest the legs for a moment before we move on. But when you're ready, we'll use our bricks for head support for Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. You can use a bolster for head support. Today I'm going to demonstrate with 2 bricks. Again, we want to get the crown of the head on the support, not so much the hairline or the front of the head there. So you can use a flat brick and then a diagonal brick, and we intend to bring the crown onto this diagonal brick. Of course, you can turn that up a little higher if it's hard to reach the brick on that flat position. And you don't put your hands in line with the bricks, you put your hands further forward than the line of the bricks, and then you'll discover as you lift up into your dog pose and you move the chest towards the legs, draw your chin in, then ideally the crown comes onto your bricks. Now, if the shoulders are tight or there's some tightness in the upper back, you may need more height. You may need to readjust your height. But don't bend the elbows to get the head down. Make sure your hands are forward enough that you can bring your head down rather than bending the elbows. You can certainly draw the heels down, but don't make that a priority. The priority is straight arms, straight legs, straight back, and head resting. Now again, as we're resting here, can you feel the abdomen, the navel, abdominal contents, can they retreat back towards the back abdominal wall as you exhale? And that can't happen if you're striving to get the heels down, which often causes the belly to push out. So let the heels lift a little, let there be some buoyancy in the heels so you can pitch the sitting bones up and allow for that quietness in the abdomen as you exhale. Arms are straight, legs are straight, and we slow the breath down. A couple more breaths. Then as we come out, let's bend the knees to the floor. You can use the bricks or not, but let's rest the head down on the forearms for a moment. If it's difficult to reach down, you can put the bricks underneath your forearms or underneath your forehead. As you're ready, then come to sit. We're going to transition now to using the wall for a headstand support. Let's take our mat into the wall. Narrow end of the mat into the wall, and we're going to use the bricks for support. Now, if you are managing headstand without support, that's fine. You can go into headstand. Clearly, we're using the wall for the heels to come onto if we take the legs up. But I'm going to demonstrate today just keeping the feet down. So we'd call it a preparation for headstand. And this is specifically for those who don't feel secure about doing headstand on your own at home. So if you've only got 2 bricks, use one standing tall at the wall, the other one sticking out from the wall. So that sits on top. It's almost like you're creating the letter T. This will then offer some support to the upper thoracic region. However, if you have 3 bricks, or perhaps you've got a thick book that you can use as a 3rd brick, we'll put a 3rd brick underneath this. So I'll grab my third brick and I'll demonstrate. I've got my third brick. I'm going to put that so it runs parallel to the wall underneath my brick setup, and I may need just a little bit of space. If you've got a skirting board, that will definitely act as space between your two lower bricks and the wall. Then the top brick sits into the wall. This is going to press into the thoracic region. So for our headstand, or as I said, prep for headstand, we're going to keep the feet on the floor unless you feel confident about kicking the legs up. Zip the fingers all the way up. Tips of the thumbs can touch, or you can cross the thumbs as well. But get the wrists in contact with the floor. Make sure that this outer wrist is pressing down into the floor, elbows shoulder width. Crown comes down. As soon as the crown comes onto the floor, lift the shoulders up the back. Shoulder blades up the back, then you can lift your knees off the floor and walk in. Now for stability's sake, you can take your feet apart, so you've got hip width feet. And if possible, you're straightening the knees. If you feel really stiff and you straighten the knees and your back is rounding, your hips are further away from the wall than what we'd like, you could potentially try walking in and having the knees bent, but do try and pull the hips back towards the wall. So if you can, straighten the knees, keep drawing the hips up and back towards the wall. So the heels are elevated. We're not trying to get the heels down here. And then drive your forearms down. Elbows to the wrists, press down and rebound the shoulder blades up. So the work in the arms is protecting the neck. The neck is long. And then we're breathing smoothly. And again, as you exhale, can you allow the abdominal contents and the navel to recede back towards the back abdominal wall? Smooth, steady breathing, keeping your eyes quiet. Then as we come down, we step out away from the wall, bend the knees. You can have the knees apart, big toes touching. Rest the head down. Keep your arms forward. Rest your forehead on your forearms. Arms relaxed, shoulders relaxed. Then as you're ready, you can come to sit up. We'll finish with Uttanasana. So let's come back onto the feet. We won't use bricks underneath the head, but we come down, fold down, catch the elbows, let the head feel that it's resting down. There's some looseness in the neck, looseness in the shoulders. So any tension that may have come into the neck and the upper back in our headstand position, we can release that. As you're ready, hands to the waist, raise the head up, inhale and stand all the way up. As I mentioned at the beginning, we were working on the first 6 poses of the sequence for anxiety given by Mr. Iyengar in the book, The Path to Holistic Health. I've recorded a full-length class, the whole sequence in that book that is given in my video library. It's recently been uploaded in the video library. You can check it out by going to heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. Subscribe to my video library and you'll get a 7-day free trial. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.